A friend of mine recently bought a second-hand laptop from a busy garage sale. The seller said that the thing won't turn on. Being the nerd that he is, my friend got it working and found a strange letter saved on it. He mailed it to me after I asked him if I could share it here. So, here it goes. Dear Matthew, I'm writing to you to tell you that I know everything that you do not want me to know. I know you must dread hearing this, especially coming from me, but I really need you to listen to what I have to say. A few years ago, I watched you come home every night smelling of alcohol with your eyes drooling out of their sockets. I waited for you, resolute to see you arrive safely. Yet, you never so much as muttered a quick greeting into my direction, and you always just went straight to your computer where you started your gaming sessions that persisted into early mornings. You even fell asleep at the desk sometimes like an old bum, leaving me isolated in that bed that felt far too big for me, alone. I watched you not care about your persona, and I understood it to an extent. Many articles online claim that people tend to let themselves go because they don't expect their partners to lose attraction, and we have been together for 13 years after all. I stomached your disgust habits and bad odor because I care for you. You tested my patience a few months ago when I watched you not come home at all until morning, and as stalkery as it may sound, I followed you sometimes, lurking outside the pubs that you entered. I watched through the windows as you took the same seat in the corner every night and ordered one beer after the other until you passed out. Bartenders took pity on you because for some reason they never once threw you out. And then, last month I followed you again, expecting for your nightly routine to be the same, but it wasn't. There you sat at the bar with your posture more confident than before while you spoke to a beautiful woman seated next to you. Needless to say, you shattered my heart that night, and as I sat in that car outside, so many questions passed me. How could I have been so stupid as to let things get this far? Your attraction to me had become questionable, but how could I not think to do something about it? You were the person I was meant to spend forever with, but this betrayal made me certain that you were a mistake. I hated you after that, even though I never hated you directly. Through my bitterness, I made sure you had only freezing showers when you came home at night. I replaced your fresh sandwiches with rotten ones when I had the chance. I dumped half a liter of cat piss on your side of the bed, and I pulled the covers from your body every night. Then, the day came that changed everything. You woke up sober and dressed neatly, even went so far as to shave your face, and this suspicious behavior had me trailing you once more as soon as you left the house. I watched you from afar as you brought nice flowers in what seemed to be a picnic basket. Of course, you were preparing to meet her, and that was something I didn't want to watch. But something made me follow you still. You took me by surprise as your journey led into the cemetery. I kept my distance as you peered near a grave for what seemed like hours. It took me a considerate amount of time to recognize the tears on your cheeks, because I swear I had never seen you cry before. You left the flowers on the grave and walked away with the basket still in hand. I went home after that. I didn't need to see any more. I'm in the kitchen as I'm writing this on your laptop, and you're in the bathroom. It's nearly 1:30, and that woman I saw you with at the bar is still sound asleep in our bed. But I understand it now, Matthew. Now I know why you're sobbing faintly in the bathroom and why my name stood on that gravestone. I understand, and I forgive you. You can stop grieving now and be with that stranger on my side of the bed with a clear mind. Just remember that I'll be near and watching over you as I always had, for once your lifetime ends, you'll belong to me again. The laptop had refused to turn on after I got this copy. This happened a few years ago while I was still in high school. I was 17 at the time. I grew up in a small town and my mother, sister, and I moved to a larger city. I was home alone with my little sister who was 3, as my mother regularly worked night shifts and I was a built-in babysitter. It was winter, just before Christmas, so by about 5 p.m., it was essentially black outside. This happened around 9 p.m. I would let my little sister stay up late with me, and once she fell asleep cuddling with me on the couch, I would move her to her room. It helped eliminate the temper tantrums about bedtime. So we were laying on the couch when our dog started losing her mind. Our dog was a big floppy basset hound named Matilda. She was incredibly sweet and would rarely ever bark, but at this point, she's growling and the fur on her back is standing up. I immediately knew something very wrong was happening, and I picked up my sister and brought her to the washroom, which had no windows. I sat her on the tub and told her not to move, and I locked the door from the inside and shut it. I go back to the living room, my sister safe and sound, and I grab my cell phone, ready to call her if I needed help, when someone starts banging on the door like crazy. I look through the peephole and I see a man standing outside, his face covered in blood. Matilda is still losing her mind and she's trying to force herself between me and the door. My heart is pounding in my ears and it feels like my stomach is about to fall out of my butt and I have no idea what to do, so I move away from the door and just stand there, silently freaking out. The banging gets louder and then I start to hear voices and yelling. This guy is pleading with me to open the door. I go and look in the peephole again, and there's another guy there, beating on the blood-covered guy. At this point, I'm a small, defenseless 17-year-old girl, and there are 2 seemingly large men outside, one of which is beating the crap out of another guy covered in blood as he's begging me to let him inside of my house. I finally call 911. I give them the necessary information while I'm shaking uncontrollably, and they send police, fire, and ambulance. I genuinely don't think I made any sense during the phone call. I'm surprised they were able to narrow down what my address actually was. When the scene was finally taken care of by the police, another officer knocks on my door. We later found out the guy that was bloody was jumped a block or 2 away and he was beaten pretty badly. He made a run for it and made it to my house, and the guy that was assaulting him caught up with him. At this point, my dog is still going ballistic. My toddler sister is locked in the bathroom, crying hysterically, and I feel like I'm about to die from how much adrenaline is pumping through my body. I open the door for them, and part of the front of it is covered in blood from the hurt guy pounding on it, and I just break down. I'm still shaking and shivering from everything, and I start sobbing hysterically. I manage to get my dog to relax enough to let the officers come inside, and they help me get my sister out of the bathroom, and they call my mom at work to tell her what's happened. They take my statement about the whole ordeal and stay with my sister and I until my mom gets home. Needless to say, that night my mom, my sister, and I all slept in my mom's room. In hindsight, I know the guy wasn't trying to scare or hurt my sister or I. He was just trying to get help, and I felt terrible that I didn't let him in, despite it being the right thing to do. But still, bloody face guy and bad man, let's please never meet again. This is a story about my sister and I growing up. My parents moved into our house about 6 months before I was born. When I was 4, my sister came along. It was an idyllic childhood for 2 young girls, and most of our days were spent in the large oak tree on our front lawn. Then there was Sammy. Sammy was about 7 when I was born, lived next door, and had a severe mental retardation. This isn't going to sound nice, but we were a little frightened of him. He was a big kid and very loud and strong. My parents explained why he was like that, and he was never malicious, but we just we didn't understand. One thing that freaked us out was that he would often watch us as we were in our front yard. In hindsight, that was our saving grace. One summer morning when I was 8, making my sister 4 and Sammy 15, she and I were out in the front yard as usual. We were making tents for our American Girl dolls. Lost in our work, we didn't notice the man with stringy, oily hair watching us from the sidewalk. "You little girls having fun?" he asked. We nodded silently, stranger danger embedded thick in our skulls at the time. "What's her name?" he prodded, pointing at my doll. "Molly, mister, we have to go inside now." I yanked my sister up by the arm. "See you later," he replied. We ran into the house, leaving our dolls outside. The man was all but forgotten until after lunch when we went back out to play, except Molly's clothes were missing. I thought stupidly that maybe a squirrel had taken them when we heard someone clearing their throat behind us. It was the man, and he had Molly's clothes. "I need those back, please," I said, to which he replied, "Come get them." It wasn't smart to go up to him, little sister in tow. It really wasn't, but I wanted my doll's clothes back. Of course, the second we got close to him, he grabbed both of us by the arm and started yanking, pulling us towards the creek that ran on the other side of the street. My little sister was screaming. I was in shock and must have felt like a bag of cement, and I clearly remember thinking, wow, Mommy's going to be so sad when she can't find us. A great lurch from behind threw the man off his feet, and he and my sister went down while I unsteadily held my ground, spinning to see who it was. It was Sammy, and he was fuming. He kicked the man, grazing my sister in the process. "Nobody touches my girls." He started kicking the man again. The guy took off running. Sammy scooped my wailing sister up and took my hand and walked the two of us back to our house, where my mother was frantically running onto the lawn, having seen the end of the encounter. The man was never found. Sammy passed away last year of a heart defect he had long suffered from. There wasn't a dry eye in town. My boyfriend of 5 years and I recently moved to Texas from Iowa to a new subdivision outside of a small town. The house we bought is at the end of a cul-de-sac with a huge field with nothing but trees behind it. We were both so excited to be starting our new lives together and to have bought our first house. We also have 2 dogs, basically our children. My boyfriend decided he was going out with some new co-workers to the city, which was about 35 minutes away. I didn't feel like going as I'm more of an introvert and a large crowd isn't exactly my forte. Also, I usually love being home alone because I can binge snack and watch scary movies he never wants to watch. So, after getting home around 6 p.m. from work and the grocery store, I barricade myself and the dogs in my bedroom to commence the scary marathon of awesomeness. Side note, my dogs become an edge when my boyfriend isn't home at night and randomly bark in the night at seemingly nothing. Freaks me out a bit, but I've become used to it. We have one window in our room that's right next to our bed. I usually have the windows open, letting the night air in, but tonight, I only cracked it. So, I'm balls deep in some cheesy 80s horror flick, and the dogs start barking. I started screaming at them to stop. I always take notice when they bark, however, just in case, I turn the light on, look around. Nothing. Lights off, back to the dits running up the stairs. It's around 11 now, and I'm sure the boyfriend will be gone a couple more hours. No biggie. The dogs start barking again. This time, they won't stop. So slowly, I look out the window. I don't see anything until I catch it. At the bottom of the window, peering up at me, are a set of eyes. Not the whole face, not even the nose, just the eyes. The window was pretty low to the ground, so this man was crouching down. I thought it was my boyfriend trying to scare me, We sometimes like to do that, but not to this extent. So, of course, I try to play it off like I'm not scared. Calvin, you're dumb. Seriously, this isn't even funny. The staring continues. Okay, you're really milking this one. Hardy har har. Now really, stop. You're freaking the dogs out. Then the eye starts slowly moving. Still on the window so I can't see the face, but moving across. Sliding up it now, so I can only see one eye until the man is standing up fully. Clearly too big to be my 5'11" boyfriend. I freeze. I've always thought of myself as tough, and from watching so many scary movies, able to deal with sketchy situations until now. I literally didn't move, and the dog still barked. He just stares. I quickly fumble for my phone, finding my voice, and yell at the psycho to leave and that I'm calling the cops. That's when he takes a sidestep into full view of me, just stands there while I dial for the police, stammering over my words. Then I hear something tap the window. It's a large knife tapping on the window. And he must have gotten the reaction he wanted from me because a slow, sadistic smile slides across his face. Knowing full well that the police are coming, he takes one large step backwards and stands there forever, it seems like. Each step backwards is slow and deliberate while maintaining the most bone-chilling smile until he reaches the fence, climbs over, still staring in the direction I see him peeking over the fence one last time before disappearing into the night. The cops never found him. When I was about 12 in the early 1980s, my dad once again got custody, so I went to live with him. My dad would occasionally go out at night on weekends with a hot date and leave me home alone. I enjoyed it because I felt grown up. No babysitter. I usually had a friend over or my brothers were there, so it wasn't scary. One time, though, I was alone, and it did get scary. I also enjoyed being home alone on weekend evenings because it gave me time to catch up on all the latest R-rated movies, which my dad would otherwise not allow me to watch, of course. On this particular night, I was watching Conan the Barbarian as it had just landed on HBO. I had the lights dimmed in the living room. About 10 p.m., the movie is about halfway over and there's a very loud knock on the front door. I was too short to use the peephole, so I asked, "Who's there?" A man's voice loudly says, "You want to buy some candy?" It was 10 o'clock at night. I reply, "No thanks." 10 seconds go by. I'm leaning with my ear on the door. He beats on the door again, startling me, and I jump. "Do you want to buy some candy? Open the goddamn door." I told him no, and to go away. He started cursing repeatedly. His voice sounded like a cross between Samuel L. Jackson and Ving Rhames. He leaves, but not for long. Confused, shocked, I just go stand in the hallway, listening. The rest of the house is a fortress, and my dad was safety conscious with always checking window locks, doors, etc., afraid of being burglarized. When I would sometimes forget my house key, I was screwed because there was no way to sneak in. We lived in a cookie-cutter development in a safe suburban area, but during the day, it was a ghost town. Parents were at work, kids were all in school. There were a lot of burglaries, as I recall. I was so shaken with fear when I realized how late it was, and he's selling candy. I couldn't go back to watching my movie. I turned on all the lights and hid behind the couch. I think he's gone. Suddenly, the man then starts ringing the doorbell repeatedly. It went on for probably a solid minute. I'm frozen with fear behind the couch, clutching a steak knife. That was an adult at the door, not some friends or kids playing a joke. He never came back after that doorbell episode. I never told my dad about it either, nor my brothers. I don't know why. It was so messed up that I pushed it out of my mind. As time went by, it seemed to be more like a bad dream. I don't know what would have happened if I had opened the door. Our house was on a corner lot by a busy connecting street. we had some other issues there. Later in life, when I was just out of high school, we had a prowler who left signs that he had been stacking our lawn chairs against the wall in order to climb on the roof and peer into our bedroom windows at night. I am not scared of the dark. There is nothing under my bed. There is nothing in the closet. Dad checked it when he came in. He checked before he put me to bed. I am not scared of the dark. There was no creak. There was no sound. You just have to remind yourself of these things sometimes. Our minds like to trick us. Sort of like brothers like to trick us. Dad told me so. I'm not so scared of the dark. There's no reason to be. It's not a scary place. It's just the same room with no light letting me see it, but everything is still the same. I know that. I'm in the same bed, and the same things are in my room. Creepies and ghosties aren't made by the dark. They don't just disappear, so we have nothing to be afraid of. Dad told me so. The sound I hear, this sound from the end of the room, is my imagination playing like my brother. He's such a clown. I never really think his jokes are funny. He always laughs though. My brother laughed a lot. Just like my teddy bear. He always looks like he's laughing. That grin across his face. The window lets a little bit of light in, but I don't need it. The dark isn't scary. The moon, it casts a soft white light onto the edge of my bed. It cuts into the dark like my nightlight used to. But I'm a big girl now, and I don't need nightlights. I get up and close the curtains and hide the moon. I close my eyes and try to go away. Try to dream of a place outside of my room. The closet creaks. I'm not scared of the dark. There is nothing in my closet. Dad checked it when he came in. He checked it before he tucked me, just like he did under my bed. Kitty is downstairs. That sound. I'm hearing Kitty. Dad always said if I didn't know what a sound was, that it was Kitty. You can always count on that. I snuggled in and wished I had Kitty. At least, I had Teddy. His laughing face was on, and his beady eyes smushed into the side of my face. The closet went creak again. If there was light in here, I would be able to see that there was nothing there. There wasn't light though. I made sure of that. Big girls had to sleep in the dark. It was just the dark and me. And Kitty, of course, which wasn't all that bad. I'm not scared of the dark, of course. Kitty moved again. Dad says he puts him downstairs, but I'm sure he hides him in the closet to surprise me. I think I heard the door open, but the dark is hiding it. I'm not scared of the dark though. There's nothing to be afraid of. There was nothing there in the light, and the dark is no different. I'm definitely not scared of Kitty. He's nice. I can feel him on my bed now like he normally does. He goes and sits by my feet every night, curling up in a little kitty ball, protecting me from the dark. I feel better with him there. It reminds me that I had nothing to worry about in the closet. It was only Kitty. Dad is such a trickster, like my brother. I'm not scared of the dark. There is nothing but Kitty on the end of my bed and nothing under it. I try again to sleep. It's easier this time without the moon because I'm not scared of the dark. I hear Kitty scratch at the door. I feel Kitty on the edge of my bed, curled up. I guess Dad wasn't trying to surprise me, though every night I hope he is. Kitty was outside like he always was. Dad's such a dummy. He thinks I'm scared of the dark, but I'm not. I sleep fine in the dark. I'm a lot more scared of what would happen if I turned on the light.